let's talk about gas fees, right? So gas fees are on-chain transactions that are paid to create a transaction, to create an action to run a smart contract on the blockchain, right? So this keeps certain transactions at a cost, right? And the goal over time is to lower the gas fees that it takes to conduct action on chain. But it's also important to understand that they exist for creating a pay-to-play model in terms of also incentivizing people. If you're going to do malicious activities on chain, you have to be able to pay all the gas fees to do that. So it's an interesting mechanism to manage smart contracts, but also eliminate bad behavior on chain. An escrow is a smart contract that holds assets. So if you think about it in terms of regular contracts and two friends that are going to exchange money, if you don't trust your other friend, you may hand it to a third party to hold the money until the terms of the conditions of the contract are met, and then the funds can be passed off. So that's what an escrow is, and you have smart contracts that can act as escrows. So now we're going to talk about different types of ERCs, right? We have ERC20s, which are your fungible token types. We talked about this in the first session. These are the tokens that act similar to currency, right? And they're identical and interchangeable. So you can always swap one, let's say, for example, Ethereum for another Ethereum token. They're not like the ERC 721s, which on the other hand are non-fungible and are unique in nature, right? And then we also have 1155s, which can be unique in nature, but they're also non-fungible. I mean, they're also fungible, meaning that you could think about these like memberships. So you can have multiple gold members, and gold members can swap for gold members, but there's some level of differences when you try to swap at a gold to a silver tier. So that's what makes them unique at different tiers. And 1155s often also are less expensive in terms of creating those type of tokens because they can serve that duplicitous nature of fungible and non-fungible. ERC 2981 is the royalty contract. So you think about the space growing over time, has to be able to serve different types of use cases outside of solely art, and even art has royalties, but also music has royalties, right? So if you're an artist that makes a song and your song gets played on different platforms or gets bought and sold on different platforms, then this royalty standard allows for the original owner or the original creator of that smart contract to continue to get royalty paid on those additional sales. And that's baked into the smart contract as well. So there's even the ability with ERC 4907 to have rentable NFTs where your assets can be loaned out and leveraged at a cost that you desire to set, and that can be rented temporarily. So think about this again, like renting a room out in your house or Airbnb, where you can temporarily monetize the assets that you own, right? If you're lending out your car, or if you're lending out any products that you own, you can make those technically scenarios where in the future you can tokenize the renting portion of those assets into an NFT, more specifically into an ERC 4907. So looking at some more key terms, we have ERC 721A. So this was introduced a lot later than the original 721. This was more gas efficient. So the ability to create multiple 721s, but at a single transaction, thereby wasting less gas. So doing it more bundled. ERC 677 introduced the ability to have burnable NFTs. So we talked about in the first session that NFTs and anything on chain is technically immutable, right? Meaning that it cannot be destroyed off chain. But with burnable NFTs, you're not destroying the NFT, right? You're sending transitioning the owner to a 0x burn address. So this address is much like if you think about your desktop, the recycling bin, but you cannot go in the recycling bin and take things out. So once you actually decide to send it to this location, the 0x burn address, it stays there. It stays there and no longer is accessible by the common space, but it's still on chain. It's just on chain and designated to be owned by the burn address, right? Next, we're going to start into some marketplace terminologies, right? So we have marketplace, listing, English auction, Dutch auction, and account factory contract. So these are important marketplace terminologies, because for marketplace, this is what we're going to set up today, right? It's a contract where you can enable the selling and buying of NFTs, and you see this type of activity on OpenSea or Rarible. And a listing is the actual action of putting up an NFT for sale at a price that you want. So if you sell goods online, whether, if Facebook Marketplace, similar concept, or eBay, or any other website that allows for e-commerce, this is the tokenized version of that to spin up a marketplace and list your tokens for sale. So we're going to actually do that in a couple of minutes here. But if I go down the line of the rest of these terminologies, we have English auction. So English auction versus a Dutch auction, right? English auction is this is a more common auction, right? This is an auction where you commonly hear people bidding at the highest price, and whoever bids the highest wins. That's what's known as an English auction. That's a more common type of auction. But there's also what's known as a Dutch auction. And Dutch auctions are different, where the price starts at the highest number instead, and they're more time based. So based on a given time cadence, right? If the asset is not purchased by that time, then the price will go down and continues to go down until somebody bids at the price that the Dutch auction is gradually decreasing down to. So we have two different auctions where one is more of a decreasing, right? And it's more of a waiting game to see if people want a certain asset at a different price. You can hold out and see if it's going to drop down to a certain price. But in an English auction, it's more of a bidding war in terms of who's going to bid the highest. So you can set up these two types of auction types. We're going to have English auction be an option. And then Account Factory finally is a smart contract that can allow you to generate wallets for your end users.